We are out for a walk. Well, it's just me. And obviously there's no one around. It's not as cold as it was the other day. There's still snow, but it's a little warmer. And just out for a walk and thought I'd talk about a few things. Hopefully you can hear me. I don't know if I'm going to post this, but kind of wanted to talk about inspiration. And despite things not being the best right now, I do think there's a lot to be inspired by, and there's all kinds of stuff to be inspired by. There's stuff to keep us occupied and productive while we kind of wait until a vaccine is made or whatever the fuck it is. And so I guess I'll just talk about what's been inspiring me. First of all, most of you know I'm releasing my album on the new upcoming album Data Bomb on May 1st, which is a Friday, and I'm quite excited about that. I'm finding that inspiring, and granted we're not, we can't do live shows, but I've decided for now I'm going to do live stream performances, stuff like that, until this whole shit gets sorted out and we can start being together again. And it's kind of funny actually, because at first I was like, I don't know if I want to release this album. It's very political. I mean, the messaging is still positive and stuff like that. And I did a query on my Facebook page, and should I release this thing or not? Because I don't want to create any negativity, but I know, and I had a couple of friends suggest that, do I go this way or that way? Which way do I go? Let's cross. They suggested that, I hold off and kind of wait until this whole thing settles down, and let's go this way. This whole thing settles down, and and then we'll have something to look forward to and celebrate. And out of all honesty, I kind of agreed with them. And then and I had other friends who were like, yeah, fuck, release it sooner rather than later, because it gives, if it's a political album, it gives people time to radicalize and think about what's going on and stuff. And I kind of decided at the time to just hold off until this whole thing gets sorted out. And then I started thinking about the whole situation, and then a president in a country that happens to be one of the most influential countries in the world, was starting to say things. We got to get things back. We got to get the economy back running. And he's like, you know, he's not listening to the health experts or anything like that. And, you know, it's, yeah. And there's rabbits out. I don't know if you can see those rabbits. Can you see them? No. Okay. Anyway, you know, he's willing to put people's lives at stake just to get the economy running. And that kind of like, you know, I was like, fuck this, man. Like, that's bullshit. And I was like, yep, time to release this. This is the time to do it. I think people need to hear this message. Yes, it's political, but it's also, there's, you know, positivity in it. And that's kind of why I decided to, shouldn't be touching my face, why I decided to release it on the 1st of May. I was already kind of pulling the trigger on it when I was releasing the singles, and then, you know, after I released the last single, yeah, fuck it, let's go. You know, between that time and I had originally intended on releasing the album on May 1st anyway, but between the time of releasing the single, yeah, fuck it, let's go, this whole self-isolation, self-quarantining thing happens, and, you know, we can't do live shows and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, no large gatherings, we have to practice social distancing and all that kind of stuff. So then I was like, fuck, like I'm half in this already. So then, of course, I was unsure, so I go on Facebook and then ask and query, you know, you people, and there were more people actually saying that I should release it than the two that had said that I should hold off for it for a bit. And yeah, anyway, so it was shortly after that, after querying the internet, that I was like, okay, I'll hold off. And then shortly after that, I was like, that's when the whole, you know, putting the economy before people's lives and shit, and just like, okay, fuck this. This is enough. Like, we're already dealing with shit here in my country, in my province, and like, you know, long story short, idiots propped up by fucking idiots, and seems to be the theme lately. So yeah, fuck this, I'm releasing it, and that's just the way it's gonna be. And now I'm like, oh, maybe I'm pulling the trigger too early, but it's like, now I'm committed, so I can't change my mind here. So no, am I gonna cross the street? I'm gonna cross the street. I'm committed now, so I've already sent out promo stuff and all that. So it's like, the last couple of days I was like, you know, I don't have to release it, I can wait. And then I'm like, no, fuck this, no, yeah, I'm releasing it. I've already pulled the trigger here, so can't go back now. So on that note, we're at Galaxy Diner, no one's around. On that note, we are doing a live stream on this Thursday at 7 p.m. I know I said this in the last little vlog I did, but I just thought I would mention it again. I'm excited about that. I'm inspired. I see lots of possibilities we kind of have to make the best out of the situation, and that's what I'm doing. So, hands getting a little cold. I didn't wear mitts. Which way am I going? I don't want to go that way. I'm gonna go this way. Yeah, we kind of have to make the best out of our current situation, and yeah, so so yeah. So that's what I'm doing, making the best out of the situation, and if I can't do live shows right now, that's fine. I'll do live streams, and that'll just be the way I get the word out about this album. I also, I'm also like, granted, I'd like to make a living doing music, but to be quite honest with you, I do think the message is more important right now. I think people need to hear this and hear the message, and I'm gonna be giving this fucking album away for free. I also understand there's a lot of people who, they don't have the finances right now to really support in that sense financially. So yeah, I'm just fucking, you want to have it, just have it. If you want to support me in any way, just share it. Share the release on social media, and we can call that, support, and that's what it is anyway. So yeah, and yeah, so that's the way it's gonna roll. And that's the thing too, like I'm starting to think about like the way I've done things and with my music career, and it's like I'm thinking, like, even with my older stuff, with the exception of like two specific pieces, two releases that I've done, I think I'm just gonna leave it, or make it all available for free, pay what you want, and that's just gonna be what it is for right now, because quite frankly, I don't expect people to support my music career financially right now, and I'd rather just people have it, and I want people to have positive message, and I think that people can find value in that, and in it, and even though I want to make a living doing this, it's like ultimately in the end I just want people to have my music and enjoy it, and yeah, so there's something else I kind of wanted to talk about too, which is we don't know what this looks like. We don't know how long this is going to go on for. I think there's other places in Canada they've announced that they've flattened the curve. I'm not sure about Alberta right now. I haven't seen anything regarding that, about flattening the curve of this whole respiratory flu thing. But I think I have predictions as far as when it's going to flatten and when things will start to get moving again. I'm not going to say because obviously I don't know. I just think that there's going to be a time when we are going to be able to get back in business, kind of thing. And so yeah, we don't know what this is going to look like, and I think there's this somebody had posted a quote that some graffiti artist in China had posted, something to the fact that we can't go back to normal because the normal we had was the problem, kind of thing. And that quote resonated with me so fucking much. Like that is the to me, what we thought was normal is not normal. Like, you look at what's going on right now and it's like, yeah, like if our current system worked, we wouldn't have people falling through the fucking cracks, and it's, everybody would be taken care of. And that, now we're at a fucking standstill because, everybody, this is a worldwide thing. And, we're seeing all the fucking cracks and all the, how are we gonna take our steps forward out of this when there is a vaccine? Like, I don't think we can return to a normal after this, because the normal we had was the problem. Like, it's not I don't know. I just like. I don't want to get into the whole capitalism discussion, because I think there is problems with it, and I do think that we need to start looking at like a living wage for everyone. I do think that I love this little place. This seems to be the place I keep coming back to. The lights, the art project that looks weird but is kind of cool. So anyway, yeah, I think that where was I? What was I saying there? Yeah, I think things need to change, and there's a lot of small businesses that are suffering, that may not be in existence after this whole thing. And it's like, how do we return to a state of it's not even returning, it's like, how do we fix this? Because there's people that are losing their livelihoods because this situation, there's these holes and cracks, and how do we fix that, And I honestly do think that maybe a living wage is the answer. And that's not the complete picture. I mean, that's not the complete answer. Like, that's part of the solution, and it's like, we see what's going on in our neighbors to the south, and they, it's like they're fucked because of the, well, do I want to get political with this or not? So I mean, they're fucked because they don't have a proper Medicare system, and people are dying, and it's not just that. I mean, it's all the leadership negligence and shit, and it's sad, and it's angry and anger inducing, and granted, the graffiti that was in that whatever city in China subway system, wherever that was, granted, they're dealing with an entirely different system there, and it's their system is sort of communism there, but it's still the same thing. Not the same thing, but it's still you know, looking at our situation and looking at the way our system runs, and it's like, yeah, there's holes and there's problems and there's, you know, yeah. Yeah, I don't know where to go from here, but after this little snippet, I just, there's obviously holes and cracks and things we need to fix, and how do we step forward and, you know, move as a unified world and unified society and shit. So yeah, I'm not sure where to go from here. Not sure where to go. So what else is going on in my thoughts? Back to the music thing. Let's end on let's end on a positive note here. Musically speaking, I already have ideas for the next album and the album after that, and yeah, I've got some ideas as far as how they're going to be put together musically, and some things I want to do as far as some challenges I want to do regarding these next couple of things. And yeah, got some ideas and stuff. So yeah, I'm not sure what to say next, you know, what to say. These are just some thoughts I was having, and I just thought I would, you know, kind of discuss inspiration. You know, there's all kinds of things to be inspired by, to keep us occupied, to keep us productive. And you know, I know it's inspiring me right now, and granted, you know, the whole situation's not ideal, but I've got these solutions, at least for me, to move forward with what I want to do. And you know, it's granted it's not exactly an ideal situation, but you know, like I said, we got to make the best of what we have currently and what we can do, and that's just the way it's gonna roll until this whole situation kind of sorts itself out, until we find a solution to this problem. And you know, I'm not gonna preach or anything like that, so I just think that that is the best way to move forward. And yeah, so and then I just kind of wanted to just discuss the whole normal, you know, the normal, you know, we can't really go back to normal anymore because the normal was not normal. So yeah, I think that's it for this video. Yeah, I think that's it for this video. Just kind of wanted to chat about those things. Just a reminder, once again, we have a new album coming out called Data Bomb. I already mentioned the date earlier in this video, and I don't know if I want to mention it again. I don't want to, like, you know, keep pushing it into your face kind of thing. I think I've mentioned it enough. And we do have a live stream performance this Thursday. I may not even post this video, we'll see. You know, we have a live stream performance this Thursday on April 16th at 7 p.m. It's probably going to be a quick little performance, and that'll just be what it is. We got some special things for you for participating, and in this live stream performance we got some things we're giving away, and I try not to touch the door handles with my hands. And yeah, I think that's That's all I gotta say. Get in the elevator. That's all I gotta say. I am excited about, you know, what the next era of Twitch looks like, what this album looks like, this new album, what we're gonna do for it, and just what the future looks like despite the whole situation. So that's it for this video. See you in the next video. I just wanted to make one final comment here about what I've been kind of discussing in this video. You know, I'm starting to, you know, I mean, I've always kind of thought this, you know, positivity and optimism, like, it can't stop. Like, I just think that, like, the positive voices out there need to keep being positive and, you know, spreading that kind of attitude and mentality, especially during situations and times like these, because, you know, you know, the thing about, like, you know, negative mentality and negative thoughts is it breeds more negativity. And you know, when somebody's thinking negative and it's like, oh, today fucking it's gonna suck, it's like, okay, you know, like, you start thinking today's gonna suck, and you know, and then it's like, okay, tomorrow's gonna suck, and then it just continues on and on and on like that. And it's actually psychosomatic behavior, where it's like, you know, you start thinking that way and then you start creating your reality that way. Like, yeah, if you start thinking, you know, today is gonna fucking suck, and then tomorrow's gonna suck, and next week is gonna suck, and the month is gonna suck, and the next 6 months is gonna suck, and then the year's gonna suck. Yeah, of course it's gonna suck, because you're making it fucking shitty. And you know, it's psychosomatic. And you know, I do think everyone in the world can have some form of positivity, and I do think that you know, negativity is a is it a learned mentality? I mean, you could say positivity is a learned thing, but I don't know, because, like, you know, I could get into my life story and shit and all the shit that's happened to me in my life and stuff, but, you know, I came out of it, all of the shit that's gone on and stuff. Yeah, I could get into a life story here, but for the purpose of this video and time's sake, I am not going to get into it, and quite frankly, a lot of that stuff is quite personal. So I do, you know, everyone has challenges and trials and all that kind of shit in their life, but I think the one thing that we have to remember is that when those challenges and trials come up and things happen, and, you know, life happens around us, and, you know, we're thrown these obstacles, that the idea is that we remain positive, and, you know, rather than negative thinking where it's like, well, this fucking sucks, and, you know, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to deal with this, you know, because it's a shitty situation and I don't know what I'm gonna do. And it's like, when you start thinking things like that, and it's like, well, you know, I failed at this, and, you know, I failed at this, and tomorrow's gonna suck because I'm gonna fail at that too. And, you know, it's like, when you think that way, it really is psychosomatic, and you will bring that, you know, negativity breeds more negativity. And, you know, I think it's important I'm saying this over and over and over again, but I think positivity is important, because you look at a situation like this whole respiratory flu thing, and yeah, it quite frankly, it does suck, but guess what? There's nothing, like, there's things I can do to help alleviate the situation, like maybe I fucking make face masks, even though I don't have sewing skills. That could be something that I do, or maybe I, there could be countless things I do to help out others. Maybe my form of help is a morale boost. Like maybe I go out on my balcony at 7 p.m. every fucking day and cheer and fucking smash my fucking pots and pans for the first responders and the fucking people that are on the front lines of this whole thing. Like, maybe that's what I do, or I mean, there's countless things. But that's the thing, is like, we're in this situation, and quite frankly, there's, as far as like, trying to find a vaccine, there really isn't anything I can do in that respect other than donating time or money to that thing, right? So I think what people have, what I'm getting at is that we have to make the best out of the situation. So self-isolating, it sucks, but guess what? We have to do it. It's unfortunate, and social distancing and all that kind of stuff, it fucking sucks. I can't play live shows. Yeah, that fucking sucks, but guess what? I'm not gonna sit down and let that fucking be an obstacle for me. I'm gonna look at that situation and go, and that's the thing I am doing, is I'm looking at it and going, okay, so what can I do that is going to alleviate my own mental health issues and help me move ahead in my own endeavor. And yeah, that releasing my album, working on music related stuff, working on my other art endeavors that I've been meaning to get to, doing live streams, like, like I said, we have to make the best out of the situation, and dwelling on the shitty stuff is only gonna bring more shit for you. So I think I got my point across there. I know this video is already at a half an hour here with this added part, but I just thought I would kind of get into that whole thing, because I think it's important for folks to hear this, and I think that these are things that people need to consider. And granted, most of you don't know my backstory. I could tell you lots of things. Some of them I don't want to tell you because they're quite personal, but I had a troubled childhood. I had a troubled, young adulthood. Dysfunctional family, all that kind of stuff. But for me, a lot of times I don't want to regurgitate that kind of shit, because it's like, I feel like dwelling on that is it's not productive. And for me, what I found is, I don't look at obstacles or problems as problems. Like, for me, the way I've always viewed, well, not always, but like ever since like 2001, 99, 2001, around there, when I was dealing with like severe anxiety type shit, like, for me, how I dealt with that situation was, I was like, well, fuck, there's all these things that I want to do, and how do I figure out these problems? And then I realized, wait a second, like, you got to change your fucking mentality around it. You got to look at it as, okay, there's problems, but what if I change my mentality and go, okay, I'm gonna set goals, and yeah, some goals I may not reach, but other goals I will, and and things change and stuff, and at least for me, that solved that situation where I was like, yeah, I've got problems, but then I started to think about it differently, and I was like, I don't have problems, I have goals. That's the way I look at it. I don't look at my life as like, oh, I have all these problems. Now ever since 99, 2000, in that time span of 99 and 2001, I started to think of my, I didn't have problems, I have goals. And because when you start thinking you have problems, once again, that's negative thinking, and it's like, it just compounds on itself, and it's like, you think, oh, I have all these problems, and it's like you start creating these fucking problems for yourself. And at least for me, I found that when I started looking at life like, okay, well, I'll start setting goals and, solving these challenges, that was what really turned things around for me. And yeah, so I don't know if that's helpful or not, but yeah, this video is getting to be a little long here, but I kind of want to get into this because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, like, I guess I'm just trying to give you some perspective, like, yeah, and maybe you need that understanding of where I'm coming from, where I look at life like, we need to think of challenge, these problems rather than thinking of them as problems. Is we need to start looking at life and going, okay, what goals am I going to set to move forward? Because when you're looking at things like problems, and I know I'm getting into this again, but you look at it and it's like you start thinking like, I have all these problems, and you're not actually thinking of what the next step is to get through this. And like there's some stuff I do, I don't mind talking about so much. Like, I did live on the streets for, well, my best friend thinks it was 2 years that him and I both lived on the streets for, but I think for me it was about 6 months, but I'm not entirely sure. It might have been a year, but I can't remember. It was a long time ago, and I've done that too, and obviously I'm not in that situation anymore. And at least for me, I found my will to get off the streets, and yeah, so yeah, I don't know where I'm gonna go with the rest of this, but I just thought I would just kind of try and be helpful there. I don't know if I've been helpful, but if you think this has been helpful, please leave that in, something in the comments. Give it a like, or leave a comment going, just letting me know that you think this is helpful. And maybe I'll do more of these kind of videos where I don't know if I'm giving you perspective, but yeah, so there's all kinds of shit I could get into, but I'm not sure I feel comfortable getting into them, especially on a public social media channel like YouTube or Facebook. And like, a lot of this stuff is quite personal and stuff. I can touch upon certain things, but and that's the thing. Like, I found what worked for me, but it's not what works for me may not necessarily work for you, right? So like, when I talk about my mentality, like the goal setting rather than thinking of problems, thinking of goals, and figuring out how to take my steps, uh, you know, that's what has worked for me. I don't know if that'll work for you. You know, maybe you have some deep-seated trauma from your childhood or something like that, and you know, that's a different situation. I don't like. I guess I'll just chat a little bit about this. You know, when I was a child. Long story short, I had a lot of anger issues. You know, I'd punch holes and punch things, and you know, shit like that, and you know, issues with depression and stuff like that. And I never, you know, the depression wasn't severe enough that I, you know, had to see a doctor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist or whatever. It was just like, you know, just it was just stuff I was dealing with. And but the anger stuff, like, you know, I'd punch holes in the walls in the house and stuff like that, and you know, or punch a stair. I think I broke my knuckle or something, or I didn't break my knuckle, but I hit the fucking, or did I can't remember, it's so long ago now. But I remember getting pissed off and punching the stairs, and I was like, ah, fuck. And I think I ended up at the doctor. I can't remember the story, but you know, I did punch the stairs and end up hurting myself and ended up at the doctor's. But I don't remember the result after that. But you know, I had anger issues, and like, once again, I don't like going into this stuff because I feel like it's regurgitating past shit, and quite frankly, I find for myself to move forward, you know, I feel better when I'm moving forward on my goals and stuff. But I will just say, like, you know, I'm not positive, you know, one of those people who are like positive and, you know, they're just positive because they how do I get in? How do I describe this? Like, yes, I've had past issues, I've had anger issues, I've had depression, I've had anxiety, all that kind of stuff, and you know, I've gotten into trouble and all that kind of stuff too, and but and you know, my mentality, you know, I think, you know, I don't know, like, I don't know what, you know, my friends think about my mentality or anything like that, and quite frankly, I don't care. But, you know, sometimes I make the assumption that people think it's easy for me, and it isn't. Like, you know, positivity isn't just something that just, oh, I'm a positive person, I'm happy-go-lucky, all this kind of shit. Like, it does take work, and you know, like, even during this whole respiratory flu thing, it's like, yeah, I have days where I feel like shit, and I have days where I feel great, and I have other days where it's kind of, you know, whatever. And you know, it's not just like you flip a switch and you're positive all of a sudden. It's like, yeah, there's work involved, and you know, it's, you know, yeah, it's not just an easy thing. It's something that I, you know, have been practicing for a long time, and you know, granted, I've gotten better at it, but you know, there like I said, there is days like where I do feel like shit, and but the thing is I don't dwell on it, and I go, okay, how can I make, you know, what can I do now that will make this, you know, make, you know, change my feeling and the feeling I'm having, and, you know, move forward and, you know, continue on with, how do I describe this? Because I'm not, it's not like I'm avoiding feelings either. It's like, you know, like you know, obviously when I feel like shit, you know, I have those thoughts where it's like, this fucking sucks. Like, you know, this, this you know, being self-isolated fucking sucks, and quite frankly I don't like it. Like I am an extrovert, and you know, it's very fucking hard for me. And I, you know, I get into this a little bit in a blog I've written recently that I'll be posting tomorrow, actually, Tuesday. You know, it's very, very, very hard for me to do this whole self-isolation thing, because I am an extrovert, and I like that's where I get my energy from, is being around people, having conversations, you know, being able to hug my friends or shake hands or pat somebody on the back or whatever. And you know, for me it's about being connected with people. And yeah, sure, you know, you know, there's video chat and shit like that, but it's not the fucking same. Like, what most people don't realize, like, they can suggest that, but you know, it's not the fucking same as being present with someone. You know, like the idea of being able to communicate through body language and you know, being present with someone is to me important. And you know, I guess this video is getting a little long here. It's now 40 minutes. Oh well, I guess it'll just be a long video, but you know, the last, you know, I think Twitch has been this year will make Twitch 21 years in July. And you know, throughout that 21 year span, there's been periods of, you know, isolation. And you know, every fucking moment of isolation I fucking hated. But it's like, at the same time, I look at it and go, if I hadn't been isolated initially when I came here, and you know, found that people were just kind of doing their own thing and nobody seemed to want to get together and do stuff, I wouldn't have written the very first Twitch album. Like, that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been isolated. And you know, as the year, and I do get into this, is it tomorrow's blog? I can't remember. It's one of the blogs that I'm gonna be posting soon. But yeah, I think it's tomorrow's blog. But you know, and then the time between the first album and the second album, like when I'm starting to write, there's a period of time where I'm dealing with between the first album and the second album. I can't remember how long it was, but the first album was 99, the second album released in 2002 in January, I think. I can't remember exactly. I'd have to look at the date on the liner notes or the Bandcamp page, because I know it's on there as well. But that period between the first and second album, lots of shit went on. I ended up, you know, here's a little bit more of a life story here. I ended up getting into trouble, and you know, I don't know how much I want to get into this, but you know, the whole situation ended up changing my life. And if that stuff hadn't happened, I wouldn't be who I am today. And quite frankly, you know, I love myself. You know, like I love who I am. I love myself. Like, you know, I think, you know, if all this shit hadn't happened in the past, I wouldn't be who I am today. And yeah, I think you get the point there. But you know, even when the second album was being written, before I started to really, you know, get into the writing of it, like, seriously, I was having, you know, mental health issues again, and you know, I was isolated again, and then I realized after these mental health issues, yeah, and I was, once again, I was isolated, but I realized that I needed to focus on writing the album because I wasn't spending enough time on it. And that's when I realized, yeah, I should probably spend one day a week just focusing on writing music. And that's kind of when I picked the day for me. Like, my creative music day is Saturdays, and ever since that realization, I've spent every Saturday, with a few minor exceptions when I've been traveling, or families in town or something like that, or I'm seeing family in another town or city. Every Saturday is dedicated to writing music, and that whole idea was born out of isolation and mental health issues, and that helped me. That helped me. The whole isolation thing actually helped. Granted, it's not a ideal circumstance where you're having mental health issues and then you realize, oh wait, maybe I should be doing this. Maybe that's not a great way of realizing that, but that's just the way it happened for me. And I'm thankful for that, because after realizing that, I started to spend every Saturday writing music, and I still do every week since then, and with like I said, with a minor few exceptions, but and it's kind of rolled out that way throughout my entire music career, if you want to call it that. I've the album that follows the second album. So the first album was a self-titled album. It was just called Twitch. The second album was We Are Here to Dance. That was when I realized that I needed to spend at least one day solely focusing on music, writing, whatever. And then the third album, TCP IP. Once again, I was having mental health issues, and like, to be honest, it fucking sucks that it has to be like that. Like, that I've come to these realizations because I've had like mental health issues, and it's funny because over the years I've realized I need to be like productive. I need to do these things. Like, I know some people are like, well, you don't need to do music, but actually I fucking do. Like, that's what's been my saving grace all these fucking years. And live shows, like, I know, once again, the same thing applies for live shows. Like, even though I was still writing my third album, and after I'd finished writing it, I realized that I wanted to do live shows, and once again I was having mental health issues, and then I finally did a live show, and then it wasn't until the fourth album, Welcome, that, because I hadn't done a live show for a long time, I realized that somewhere in between, it's a long story, but yeah, isolation fucking sucks. But for me, oddly enough, even though it's, even though a lot of the isolation that I faced over this last 21 years, it's, I've found how I managed to get through it. And I guess I'm just trying to explain, like, isolation fucking sucks, but unfortunately it's something that we have to deal with. And now when I think about, like I said, like, if it wasn't for isolation, I wouldn't have written the first album or the second album. I wouldn't have realized I wanted to do live shows with the third album. I wouldn't have realized that I wanted to get a band together with the the fourth album and, you know, have a guitarist on the fourth album if it wasn't for having time to think about this stuff. And, you know, granted, you know, now I'm obviously, I have better ways of coping through isolation now, because it's like, okay, what do I need to do in order to you know, get to the next step in my goals and all these kind of things. And granted, this is a forced isolation once again. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it, and this time it's not so much about trying to figure out what I need to do to maintain mental health in order to move forward. Now it's more like, okay, now I have to deal with this isolation shit because I have there's nothing else I can do. But it's not like I'm just gonna fucking lay there and just go, okay, this fucking sucks, and not do anything. It's like, you know, it's, you know, I'm trying to make the best of the situation, and I hope that I've articulated that through this entire fucking video. You know, I hope I've articulated what I was trying to get across there, is that I'm making the best of the situation. And, you know, even though I hate isolation, I hate being in isolation, good things have come out of it. And, you know, granted this time is a little different, but I'm still making the best of it. And at some point here, at least I think, obviously I don't know, but at some point here we will get through this whole situation. You know, like, Wuhan is back in business, you know, eventually we'll be back in business. And, you know, obviously there's some false steps there as well. Like, I think in Wuhan they might have released people a little too quickly and all that kind of stuff, but then they realized the error of their ways, and they fixed that. So now it's, you know, if they can get through it, if South Korea got through it, you know, if all these places are getting through it, why the fuck can't we? So I do think we'll get through it. Obviously we don't know when it's gonna be. I know Justin Trudeau has come out and said we might be in it for the long haul kind of thing until there's a vaccine. Whatever the case, at some point, at least for me, I know I'm gonna have to reconnect with people in a physical presence, because I am highly social, I'm extroverted, and obviously this situation is not ideal for me, but looking at my past and how I've dealt with it, this situation isn't that worrying to me, because I've dealt with it for a very long time, and I've found solutions. So yeah, I think I got my point across there. Just trying to make the best of the situation. You know, I think it's good to remain positive, and I hope that you people understand that. And, you know, I hope you take something away from this. Like, I hope you find some kind of message in here that, you know, inspires you, or just helps you out, and, you know, helps you carry on with your fucking time spent in isolation. And, you know, yeah, after we get through this, or when we get through this, you know, see you at the club, see you at a show, you know, see you at your place. If you're my friends watching this, you know, remain positive, and yeah, I think that's it for this video. I think I got out what I was trying to get out here. Positivity isn't like a walk in the park. It's not just all of a sudden you fucking, oh, I'm a positive person. No, that doesn't happen. You know, there's trials and challenges and all that kind of stuff, and yes, there are days that I feel like shit, and there are days where I feel off, but you know, I always try and return to a positive mental state. I don't try, I just, yeah, I just do, because for me, that's just the way I roll, and I hope that has helped you. So I think that's the end of this video. I hope I got across what I was trying to get across there. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. And yeah, that's it for this video. If you find this has value, please give it a like. You know, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Subscribe if you feel this channel has value, and hit that bell button to be notified when the next video comes out. So see you in the next video. Fuck yeah.